Welcome, mercenaries. The video begins in 10 seconds. You are not prepared for the amazing content you're about to watch from the VŌC Podcast team. Now, sit down and try to relax for once. Mission begins in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin!
Yep, we hear you loud and clear.
Yep.
So, hi, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
This is my husband's computer.
Right?
And, he has a very fancy microphone and very fancy headphones.
Mm-hmm.
And there goes the phone. Let me check.
Okay.
All right.
No problem.
Which he both had plugged in. Now, I'm sure if I knew how to use those, the sound would be better, but I don't know how to use them. So I just unplugged everything.
Okay.
So now it's just me and the Mac,
The Mac. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you did something good. You did something right. So I think we're good to go. Start unplugging stuff and putting them back together. That's how it
As
normally
long
works.
Yep. As long as you can hear us, it's fine.
Yes,
Yeah.
I can hear you, and I'm sorry I'm late, guys.
It's okay.
Was
No
late
problem.
connecting in. I'm just,
No problem.
I'm old.
Oh, don't even think about that.
No, don't even think about it.
Nope. You're not old at all.
To me, I
Well,
think you're just getting
thank
younger.
Okay,
Right.
so now I knew I'd be talking to Ronald,
Mhm.
but
Yes.
I don't know who you are, Sam.
Yeah, I'll introduce myself. My name's Sam. I'm a big fan of yours and the Valve realm of games and everything. And I'm a voice actor, a music producer, and a writer. And I love voice acting and music. And talking with you today, it's really gives me a chance to. I'm just really excited to be talking with you because I'm a big fan of yours for all your work and everything. So it's a big pleasure for me.
So I'm here in Seattle. Ronald, where are you?
Well, I'm in Slovakia. It's in Europe.
Slovakia.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yes.
So it's what time of day is it for you? I get confused.
It's 8 p.m.
Okay. Or a little bit after 8 p.m.
About 9
Well,
hours ahead.
it's still my morning and quite early. So Sam, where are you?
I am in Savannah, Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
so
south. Yeah,
you are Eastern time.
right. Yeah, Eastern time. Yeah.
So you're mid-afternoon.
Yeah, it's about 2 p.m. After a little bit after 2 p.m. Yeah, so
Two-ish.
I'm
Okay,
probably
well,
about
it's 11-ish a.m. here. So
okay.
I usually get up early, but this morning, I don't know, it's very quiet. It's very foggy here in Seattle.
Oh.
And I think the fog, quiets everything down. So I slept till 10 o'clock.
Nothing to worry
It
about.
seems like that in Seattle. It seems pretty cloudy and rainy, as I've heard from Seattle.
Yes.
Yeah.
My husband, John Patrick Lowry.
Good man.
And he is a good man. And,
Of course he is.
We've lived here for 31 years, and
Wow.
here's actually, I'll show you.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow.
So we're both theater actors,
Right.
and
Yes.
that painting was done for a play that John did about Joseph Pulitzer. And I'm not sure that you all are aware, but around the turn of the century in the United States, Joseph Pulitzer was a very famous newspaper man. He was an immigrant from Hungary.
Hungary.
And, pulled himself up by his bootstraps, as they say, and had a very well-read newspaper. And you may also know about Pulitzer Prizes. And Pulitzer Prizes are given here in this country for news coverage, and they're also given in the arts for drama, etc. So plays. So, right now I'm rehearsing with a young woman on a play by Marcia Norman called Night Mother. My acting partner is a wonderful young actress named Sheila Houlihan. And Night Mother is by Marcia Norman, and it won the Pulitzer Prize, I believe, for 1984. So this is a prize that's given every year for drama, but also my local newspaper has won, I think, 10 Pulitzer Prizes. But so John was in a play where he played Joseph Pulitzer, and that painting was actually painted on mesh so that John could stand behind it. And when the lights changed, when the lights came up behind the portrait, John came to life. So of course, when the play closed, nobody wanted that portrait except me. I wasn't in the play, but I wanted that portrait. So, we lugged it home, and I put some opaque fabric behind it. So there he is. There's John Patrick Lowry.
But that's such a powerful picture. That's such a powerful portrait, like I feel the energy coming off of it, it's just so powerful.
Well, it was painted by the woman who is the lead scene painter at the Village Theater, which is a theater here just out of Seattle, where John and I have worked many times. We've done, between the two of us, we've probably done 25 different shows there. But this was, one show that he did back in the aughts, as I like to say.
The
in
aughts.
The 2000s, in the that decade. The aughts. So, Ronald, your English is fabulous.
Very good, very good. I'm also very impressed.
When did you start studying English, Ronald?
Well, about 9 years ago. Most of my English is from games, but I'm very happy I actually started playing games. They help a lot in English, of course. And the cake recipe, of course.
Yes, you know all about cake.
You know more.
Well, I actually know how to bake.
Yeah.
I know. I have seen a video of you.
Oh, that one. Yes. Well, that was for a movie called Winning Dad.
Yes, and, definitely. Yeah.
I'm very proud of that film, and we made that film locally. Arthur Allen, who wrote and directed the film, lives in Europe now, and he's married to a European and a Frenchman, actually, I think. And two of my nephews also worked on the film. And actually, my nephews, Mario and Alessandro, who were both born in Italy, they keep up with Arthur. So they know what Arthur is doing. I am not as well connected anymore because Arthur and Ali and Mario and I all worked on that film in 2013.
Right.
Summer of 2013.
Right.
So we don't know if there's any, if there's going to be a Winning Dad 2 anytime soon, or perhaps a sequel, or anything from him.
I don't know. After we made the film, Mario got Arthur and Alessandro and Julia Brooke, who was the cinematographer, to go with him to Italy. And they created a music video in support of, wedding, marriage equality in Italy. So, anybody can marry. Love is love. Anybody can marry anybody. And so they've stayed in contact. And I'm so proud of myself that I brought that group of young people together.
Yeah.
Who have become such good friends and have created other works. So I love my nephews, Mario and Alessandro, and they're good to me.
They're good. They're fellow artists. I feel like you have a family of artists.
Well, it's so Alessandro's mother and Mario's stepmother, my sister, Rebecca McLain, was a professional dancer. And she danced with Pennsylvania Ballet. She danced with Ballet Clásico de México. She danced with Tanzprojekt in München. And she danced with Maryland Dance Theater, and she danced with North Carolina Dance Theater. And she had a dance studio in Vicenza, Italy for 16 years.
Oh my God.
So she is, she is an artist. And, it was so funny. My mother was a social worker. My mother was a psychiatric social worker. And, she always kind of kicked herself. She's been deceased for many years, but she'd always kick herself and she'd say to my sisters and me, I expected you to become, doctors and lawyers, etc. And I said, Mom, how could we have done that when we were always singing and dancing and acting as children? So her plans were foiled.
Yeah.
Yes. How exactly did you get in voice acting, if I can ask?
Well, it's really because of my husband. Before I met John, I was singing and dancing and acting, theater and opera. And in 2002, I was no longer an ingénue. That term ingénue in theater, it means the beautiful young romantic girl. Well, in 2002, I was well past that. But I was sort of in an interim period. I wasn't quite, now I'm a character woman. In theater, my designation is I'm a character woman. But in 2002, I was kind of betwixt and between. And my husband, who had been doing voice work for a long time, said, "Oh, Ellen, finally, will you get a voice demo?" And I said, "Oh, all right." So I went to a wonderful couple in the area, Veronica Weichel and her husband, Steve, and they created a voice demo for me. And of course, a voice demo is only about a minute of material. I took some things because I had been doing radio drama. So I did have some recordings of my voice that were, not related to theater. And we crafted a voice demo, and I was very lucky. Here's a little bit of nepotism. I submitted my voice demo to my husband's agent, Jamie Lopez at the Actors Group. And Jamie had a need for female voices at that point, so he took me on. And one of my first voice gigs was for the Honeywell Corporation, and I am the part of the voice alert system for the runway system, which is in over 90% of the commercial airports in the world, because the international language of flying is English.
Right.
And so
Right.
all pilots have to know a certain amount of English. So when the airplane gets a certain distance from an airport, my voice comes on automatically saying, you know, what the distance from the airport, what the, you know, what their elevation is, you know, whether they need to go right, go left. And one of the nicknames for my voice alert system is Bitchin' Betty. And,
Oh my.
and I'm that voice, and that was one of my first voice gigs after I submitted, you know, my voice demo to my agent.
That's what my grandfather calls GPS systems nowadays. You know, he still does it. That's really funny to me.
Yes. Well, but it's a wonderful system that, you
Wow.
know, happens automatically. And so pilots they do have a choice. They can listen to a male voice or a female voice, but one of the choices is my voice. And I'm the voice alert for the Honeywell Runway alert system, which
That's
is
very fascinating.
well,
It
you
is.
know, every time John and I fly, which of course we haven't flown, the last time we flew was in January because
Seems about
everything
right.
shut down.
Yeah.
But, you know, John says, well, if anything goes wrong on this flight, Ellen, it's your fault.
Because you're in charge.
That's right. I'm in charge.
You don't
Oh
know
my
you're in
God.
charge of it. So you recorded that back in, was that around around the time you made your demos? Back
That
in
was probably like 03, 04.
03, 04. And just so I get this right, was it just for that airport or just, you said around the world?
No,
So
it's a
it should've been-
system. It's a system that is used in over 90% of the commercial airports in the world.
Right. So you're everywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
So GLaDOS has been implemented like way before Portal 1.
Oh
Yes.
my God.
Wow, that's so fascinating. I don't think many people know that. Like, not only, you know, are you so well known in Portal and most of the Valve games, you're
Mhm.
more than not, you know, people hear you without even knowing it.
Yes.
Yeah, so you're wow, that's really fascinating. It's like I don't think many people in the Valve community knows that, so that's a very interesting tidbit there. But
Well, it's the Honeywell Runway
Honeywell.
Alert System, and I am the what did I say? I knew what it was. Oh, now I can't remember, but the something voice. I'm the alert voice or the
alert
something.
voice, right.
The alert voice, yes.
That's really fascinating. Yeah, it's really
Yes, indeed.
it's really cool to know that GLaDOS is real in 90% of our commercial airline systems, which is really it's really good to hear. It makes me very excited to go to airports now. But to hear your voice.
Yes. I
Yeah.
agree.
Well, you know, it's funny, but only on one flight, and John and I fly a lot. Only once, you know, we usually sit in the back of the plane, you know, in the cheap seats.
Right.
In fact, I think we always sit in the cheap seats.
So do we. So
You know, slowly working up to the front of the plane to deplane. And the pilot was there at one point, and it was just taking a while. And so John said to the pilot, you know, you don't know this, but this woman is the voice for the runway alert system. And his face lit up, And I said some of the things. I said, descend now. And he went,
Oh my God.
oh my gosh, it's her.
That is so nice.
But John has only done that once because I said, Johnny, please don't, no.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
Well, this is
Well,
just,
wow. It seems as almost as if, like you sound more like maybe Overwatch from Half-Life 2 in that sense, because you don't have all the GLaDOS effects on it, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It would be interesting if there was like a GLaDOS kind of effect that they could put on the Honeywell system.
yes, definitely.
I think that would be too scary.
Yeah. It'd be kind of
You know,
scary.
there's somebody did a video, and it's a fake Siri ad, and Siri is the Apple voice.
Yes.
Right.
And somebody did a fake Siri ad, and I haven't seen it in a long time, but it's such a funny ad because, it's somebody talking to their iPhone and saying, Siri, is there a donut shop near? And then, of course, GLaDOS says something like, yes, there's one right around the corner. But do you think you really need that extra 10 pounds? So, things like
Jesus.
that.
Well,
That's beautiful. That's so beautiful.
in fact, you will be here forever if you look at that from that perspective, because your voice will stay on Earth forever, even when you pass. Unfortunately, I don't want that to happen.
Well, John at my funeral, John's going to play Still Alive.
That's sad.
That made me tear up a little bit instantly.
I think that's will be appropriate.
Well, it will be just a bit sad to think about.
Well, I think we all believe that you will continue to live a very long life. And,
Of course,
Well,
yes.
we hope, but no one lasts forever.
Of course.
And I teach for many, many years. I have taught since 1987. And I have so many voice students and so many acting students. And on Friday, I'm teaching a voiceover workshop with an after-school program. So the kids are, junior high school, and I'm going to be teaching 25 kids about, voiceover and setting up their own home studio. And so I'm proselytizing to the masses. And I'm very proud to say that many of my students over the last, 87, 97, 07. So I'm teaching going on 40 years now.
Wow.
Many of my students have become professional performers. So I'm very proud of that, because you see what a teacher wants. A teacher wants their students to leap ahead, to go even further, to know more than I do. That's pretty easy because I don't know.
Yeah.
I know about singing, but other than that, I don't know much.
Do you teach demos by chance?
No, I don't. But there is a Seattle Voice Academy, is a place here in Seattle. And so my students here, I recommend Seattle Voice Academy for putting together demos. Now I can talk about it, and I've given a lot of people feedback on their demos, but John and I aren't set up to do the production ourselves.
Right.
We're not set up to do that.
Right. I've heard that, making professional demos, you have to go to a studio to make that happen. I've heard from some people that it's not recommended to make a demo at your house, like with professional equipment, like with studios and everything like that. But like for me, and I'm sure for Ronald as well, like, you know, for the demos that like we have planned, like we would like plan making a home first, kind of just practice kind of the demo making process, you know?
Well, I think you learn a lot by doing that.
Yeah.
And you know, no knowledge is unhelpful, and you never know when it's going to come in handy. But I think what a lot of people may not realize, I think you, Sam, and you, Ronald, probably know this, but a voice demo really shouldn't be any longer than a minute. John and I actually both have 2 demos. You know, we have one for voice work, for commercials, for, you know, video games, that kind of thing.
Right.
And then we have another one, which is for narration, which, you know, has more scientific terms in it and is a little bit different quality. And it's not any longer, but it has different material on it. But I think what people don't realize about a demo is that you just need little snippets, you know, little snippets of as many different voices as you have, or dialects. You know, for an American actor, it's important to have dialects. Now, in theater, you know, one dialect that I have, because I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee, is I have an authentic Tennessee accent, which is very easy for me to fall into. And in theater here in Seattle, I have done a lot of Southern plays because I go in and I've got the dialect.
You do.
So
you got that Southern accent. I automatically detected that living here in the South. Like it's very kind of it's very noticeable to me. So.
Good news.
But you see, what people don't realize, I did a production of Steel Magnolias, you know, in the aughts, and Steel Magnolias is set in northern Louisiana. Well, that's a very specific dialect, and I worked on it. So it wasn't exactly my Southern accent, but I had to work on it. Now, when you interview John, one of the fun things that he does is he will take a tour of the southeastern United States by dialects.
Yeah.
And what is so fun for me is he does my father's North Carolina dialect to a T. And of course, you know, all our parents are dead because we're so old. But, you know, Johnny will do my daddy. And it's like, oh, that sounds just like my daddy. So, you know, that's fun. And John will travel through the South.
It's dedication.
Yeah.
Dedication. I could really admire that. Yeah. Well, I love the Southern dialects, you know, living here. I've grown to love it recently, especially in North Carolina, and one like you mentioned. Like my mom was from North Carolina, so I really like the North Carolina ones as well. But yeah.
But you don't have an accent. Have you had to work through that, Sam?
Well, you see, my mom was from North Carolina, and my dad is from Kansas. So we have Southern accent, and we have a Midwest accent from the U.S. So I kind of got my accent from my dad's side, you know. So that's why I have the accent I have now. But sometimes I'll find myself, you know, going in between. But
yes, I heard that. I heard that.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll switch between accents, you know, every now and then, like, you know, whatever situation suits the best dialect, or it just happens.
Ronald, you must also be aware. You see, for me, I hear your Slovakian. I assume it's a Slovakian accent in accented English. As I said, your English is excellent. But, you know, you don't sound like an American or an Australian or a Brit or, you know, a South African, you know, many places around the world that speak English. But are you aware of different dialects even in your own country?
Well, in Slovakia, no one speaks nice English. Everyone is just like Slovakian accent. It's typical Slovak English.
But you know what I would like to hear. So is your language? What is it? Is it Czech? Is that your language?
No, we have an official language, Slovakian.
Okay.
It's kind of close to Czech, but it has some minor changes to it.
So if someone were speaking Czech to you, would you be able to understand them?
Yes, certainly.
So, but can you hear differences from different localities in Slovakia, in your country?
Yes, certainly. As the eastern part of Slovakia is closer to Ukraine, the accent changed a lot. Actually, I'm more close to Hungary, so my accent kind of switches when I speak Slovakian. But I speak Hungarian as well, so yeah.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So now, how do you and Sam know each other? How did you meet? Did you meet online playing a game?
Well,
No.
yeah. So Ronald and I met through the Valve fan community. We're since we're both voice actors, a friend of mine got me in contact with Ronald here, and we just started talking about voice acting, and just talking about some of the fan kind of work we're doing in the what they call the modding scene. And the modding scene is like you probably heard of the modding scene, yeah. Just kind of just the work that we're doing in the modding arena, and we do voice acting for these mods. That's kind of how we're starting out.
Yes,
in
yes.
the voice acting arena. So yeah, so we're doing there. But
that's great.
Yeah,
that is great. What I love, what I tell my nephews, what I tell my young students is they are citizens of the world.
Right.
Citizens of the world,
They
as
are.
are
Right.
you fellows. You all are citizens of the world.
Yes.
And I think the gaming community is building that. You can make friends everywhere. And you can't have too many friends.
That's right.
That's right. That's correct. Certainly. Okay, so can we get to the juicy part, Ellen?
Well, yeah, let's get into some of the questions about some of the work that you've done, also specifically in Valve games. Now, this isn't really well known, but you did voice act in Left 4 Dead. There was a part where you played as a crying zombie witch woman. I understand that you might not remember much from that. That's what I found out recently. But is there any like tidbit of memory that you have from playing the witch in Left 4 Dead?
Well, here's the thing. The part of the recording for Left 4 Dead that I remember is that usually you go into the studio by yourself, because that's the best use of time. And, you just have your lines and you say all your lines and you do it. But the only time that I went into the studio with another actor for a Valve game was Left 4 Dead, because John and I went in together and we played the bickering married couple.
Right.
Because
Oh, yes.
the Valve folks thought that would be funny to have John and me. So John and I were there and improvising. we were, and John is a wonderful improvisatory actor. I'm not. But with John's lead, we improvised a bickering session where John wants to help the player. And I'm saying, no, there's zombies there. No, we're not going there, that kind of thing. And I had totally forgotten that they wanted me to do a bunch of screams. And I thought, oh God, who knows why, But with, prodding of my memory, it's like, oh yeah, I remember just screaming. So, they just said, oh, Ellen, do some screams. And I did.
So they didn't really tell you specifically what you were screaming for. They didn't tell you what the role was that,
Oh, no.
Okay.
I'm not sure they knew. They probably knew, but they didn't tell me.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I can scream.
Yeah. There's some crying as well. But I think the crying, I don't think the crying was you, actually. I think the crying, because I've heard that same sound from The Witch and Left 4 Dead in other media. So I don't think that was you. I think that was probably like a repository soundbite that sound designers use. So I think, yeah.
I don't know. I will tell you guys, the real mystery to me is the movie Warcraft, which I receive residuals for, and I have no memory of recording for that. So my only thought for that is that I had done some recordings for Valve, and Valve allowed the producers for Warcraft to use them, but crediting me, and I get money from it. Not much, but some.
That's the World of Warcraft movie, I'm not mistaken, right? I think that's...
Yes, and I've never seen it. I've never seen the movie.
Either. Yeah, I don't think Ronald has either.
And no, I have no idea what I did for it.
I think I'm gonna watch Warcraft.
There's a mystery.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think I'll check that out. I think I've been meaning to do that anyway, but that's really interesting.
Well, and then write John on Facebook and let us know.
Found your part in Warcraft. You were doing some screams in the background of the movie.
Probably more screaming.
Yes, maybe.
I will check. We'll check that out. I know I'll watch it, but I'm sure Ronald and I will check that out and watch that together on a.
Yes, certainly. So you were playing as Amanda Slaughter, the wife of the, I don't even know how to call him, the radio bow thingy. You know what we were talking about. Well, actually, your recording sessions never made it into the game. Yeah, so actually you are not there, only John.
Oh, I think I'm there in the background, aren't I?
No, you're not.
As the bickering married couple, I think you can hear like a couple little things from me.
No, you're not there.
John is the voice on the radio.
Yeah, definitely. But
I mean, listen, you probably know better than I, but I thought I had a couple little interjections.
Well, I thought so too.
Background.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just heard out today all of both lines and nothing, only John, nothing else.
Well,
I was a bit surprised.
Well, the nice thing is I got paid anyway.
Yeah, that's what matters, huh?
Yeah, that's what matters.
Probably in the files somewhere. We probably have the data mine that, but we'll do that later. But
maybe they sold those lines to World of Warcraft.
Maybe Amanda Slater is in Warcraft. That's a good idea. Oh my God. Hey, look, I'll message. I'll send to John on Facebook if we find Amanda Slater, and then I'm sure he'll let you know because.
Okay.
We need to find that. We need to find it. That's priority right there. Well, I was going to ask you if you knew about any inspirations of the concept for the witch.
Mm-hmm.
They just
Yeah,
asked
I
you
think
about
I think
they
we
just
should
asked
skip
you
that.
about just to scream. So that's all you that's all you
Yeah.
really knew about
Yeah.
it. So
Yes.
Okay, so we skip the left-footed questions. Let's go to Portal actually.
Okay.
Go ahead, Sam.
yeah, so I remember I was a kid in middle school, right? I remember like playing Portal a lot, and I remember there was the final battle of Portal 1 that you might remember. It was a very emotional and gratifying like scene. So I wanted to ask you, how did you channel that emotion into GLaDOS through your delivery in that scene? Like what preparations did you do to put yourself in that kind of that mindset of GLaDOS's real pain and suffering? It's pretty packed question, but
No, it's a very good question. I think that emotion, the palette, like an artist's palette, the palette of emotion is what actors use. It's how we color different characters. And as many actors will tell you, some emotions come easily to people. I would say for me, panic
yeah,
comes pretty easily to me.
yeah,
I know what that feels like. I
yeah,
know what it feels like to panic.
right,
And I'm not very mature. And John does not panic. John's a very good actor, but certain emotions just come easier to other people. So the whole creation of GLaDOS was very interesting,
right.
because when I first started recording, I didn't even know it was a game. I don't know what I thought, but I thought that I was a voice prompt, a computer voice prompt, because so much of the copy that I recorded at first was, to help people, figure out where you are. You're at Aperture Science, and that kind of thing.
Right.
So I remember one time in the studio when I was given some copy that I didn't understand, and I said, to Eric Wolpaw, the principal writer for, the first Portal, I said, Eric, I don't understand this. I said, what am I telling this person? And Eric said, you're lying, Ellen. You're lying. I said, what? So I didn't understand, but he explained to me at this point that I was, what's the term called in a book? An unreliable narrator. I was an unreliable narrator, and this is a term in writing, that you couldn't trust me. Well, I didn't know this. And then as we went on, Eric said, well, you're going crazy. Because then I had that, all that silly stuff about the cake recipe that has fish in it, and, all this wild stuff. And he said, you're losing it. And I know how to panic, and I know how to go ballistic, because that's happened in my own life. So it was a pretty easy place for me to go.
Yeah.
Good question, Sam.
Thank you.
Ellen, did you actually meet the face model of the main protagonist of Portal, Chell, is it? I remember seeing a picture of you and her laughing together.
But that was the release party for Portal 2. So I didn't meet her until the release party for Portal 2. And I don't recall seeing a picture
I'm gonna look for
of
it.
Michelle until, around that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's actually a picture circulating of you, and I believe her name is I hope I'm pronouncing this right. I think it's Alicia Glidewell, and like there's like a picture of you and her just laughing together, just having a good time.
That was at the Portal 2 release party.
Yeah.
So that was in the Valve offices, where they were at the time. They keep moving. They don't want people to know where they are, so they keep moving around Bellevue. They are in Bellevue, Washington, but I will tell you, they've been in like 4 different buildings over there. It's crazy.
Yeah, that seems about right. They move a lot. Yeah.
But I only met her the once, and she was so nice, and of course so beautiful. She's a very beautiful woman.
Right. Yeah.
But that's the only time we met.
Mm-hmm. It's really interesting. She also does a lot of voice acting herself. So
I wasn't aware of that. Doesn't surprise me. She's an actor, so.
Yeah, she's very talented. Very talented.
Actors need to be versatile.
Yes, they do.
Yes,
they need to in order to get work. Yeah, very true. For Portal, were there any other contestants that you know of for GLaDOS that were possibly considered? Or for any other characters even?
I know that other people auditioned because, I didn't audition. And the criteria for the audition is they sent a sound file of a computerized voice. And the reason they needed an actor is the computerized voice was copyrighted. So Valve would have had to pay, licensing fees to use that. They didn't want to do that. Hiring an actor was cheaper because I only got paid for studio time. I only got paid for the time I was in the studio. So I'm sure other people auditioned. I don't know who. They wanted a female. I know that. They wanted a female.
So was there any change in delivery of the Overwatch voice that Valve was looking for, comparing from Half-Life 2 to Half-Life Alyx?
Well, they played samples for me. And I could also, all over the internet, you can pull up Overwatch in Half-Life 2. And Half-Life 2, my husband played a lot, just played. And he, of course, John is the voice of all the male citizens in Half-Life 2. And our friend Mary Kay Irvin is the voice of all the female citizens. So they're actors in Half-Life. They live in the Seattle area, so we know many of them. And so I heard Overwatch a lot. But then even in the studio, they played raw samples for me of my recordings for Overwatch for Half-Life 2 to remind me what I did, because that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But, that's what they did. They reminded me, and so then I recorded for Half-Life Alyx.
Cool. So it was around kind of like the same, there wasn't really any change in delivery. It was just kind of the same kind of delivery that you were going for. Right. It was very good. I liked it a lot.
Yes.
We all loved it. So for the second question for Half-Life here, how has the flow of production changed since Half-Life 2 when you did Half-Life Alyx? Was there anything different or notable the way Valve does things now, especially for directing voice actors? Did you find anything different?
Well, yes. For Half-Life 2, for Portal, for Left 4 Dead, for Team Fortress 2, all of the recordings happened at a studio in Seattle called Pure Audio. And for DOTA too. We did the initial Heroes recordings, character recordings at Pure Audio. But in the last 5 years, maybe, all of the recording, Valve built their own in-house studio, state-of-the-art studio. And Mark is their chief engineer. Marcus is their chief engineer. And so now we go to Valve's own studios in Bellevue to record, you know, for additional recordings for Team Fortress 2. The Half-Life Alyx recordings were there. You know, John is the voice of the Dota 2 International for the last few years. But since the pandemic, John has been recording here at home for Valve. So because of our governor, Jay Inslee, and his wisdom, and I agree with him, you know, he has made quite strict health, you know, decisions to keep us safe in Washington State. And, you know, I just read in the newspaper, you know, yesterday or day before yesterday, that of the 30 largest cities in the country, in the USA, Seattle has the lowest infection rate. So I'm very proud of Governor Jay Inslee for keeping us healthy. And making decisions to keep his citizens of the state of Washington healthy. So yes, you know, and John and I have lost one friend to the pandemic. Very unfortunate, but you know, we must make sacrifices now to survive. Everyone does in the world. Everyone does.
Yeah. I think you are talking about Rick May.
Yes, I am talking about Rick May. Because of course, Rick May was the soldier in Team Fortress 2.
That's right.
And also Rick May, so my husband's also involved with a series called, you know, The Further Adventures of Sherlock Holmes and the Classic Adventures. And Jim French's Imagination Theater recorded all these stories. Oh my gosh, it's hundreds of stories. And Rick May played Inspector Lestrade from Scotland Yard. And a wonderful man. And of course, Rick taught voiceover for many, many years, and a dear friend. So we must take this pandemic seriously.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Thank you for that. We really appreciate that. But yeah, rest in peace, Rick May. We all love him. And,
yes.
Yeah. Was there any reference material for the Overwatch voice?
Well, as I recall, initially when I did the Overwatch voice for Half-Life 2, they didn't want me to sound American. And I remember, you know, Scotland, United Kingdom. So my accent for Overwatch is, we could say, as an American actor would say, we would say mid-Atlantic. So not American, you know, not British, you know, somewhere in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah. It's such a unique blend of dialect and accents, you know. It's very, I think it's very beautiful. Like I really love that blending of you know, just American and UK, because you're exactly right. That's what it is. It's essentially just those mix of them. So labeling, the Overwatch voice as Mid-Atlantic seems about right, and that's really cool. It's really awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think at some point there could be a dialect called Mid-Atlantic that people could possibly adopt within the next few hundred years, perhaps.
Well,
But,
I think there may already be one.
Might.
In the early years of the film industry here in the United States and California, they had voice coaches because, of course, the film industry had been silent, and not all the silent actors were able to make the transition into the talkies. So they hired voice coaches, and the voice coaches were trained in, RP, received pronunciation. And so that's what they were teaching these film actors in the early years. So if you listen to old films, a lot of people have this sort of mid-Atlantic accent, which borrows from the American dialect, borrows from the British dialect, but is kind of
in between. It's a mix. That's really cool.
Do you actually know Harry S. Robbins, the voice of Dr. Kleiner from Half-Life 2?
Is this a character?
Yes.
He played Dr. Kleiner.
No, say the name again.
Harry S. Robbins.
No, I do not know him. People who were in Half-Life 2 that I know are, of course, my husband, John, Mary Kay Irvin, Jim French, who is deceased.
Mm-hmm.
Jim French played the bishop or the priest.
Yeah, the bishop. Yeah, his name is Father Gregorius.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's who you're referring to.
And you'd have to name some other actors because I just can't remember who else is in it at this point.
Robert, do you know Robert Culp by any means?
Oh no, but Robert Culp, is a
very famous actor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But considerably older than John and me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm sure he was down in the LA area, and his recordings from down there.
So just one question for Team Fortress 2 here. What was the inspiration for the administrator voice? Did you have any inspirations for it that helped you bring that delivery?
Well, I remember being told that they wanted me to be angry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They wanted me to be angry, and they wanted me to, sort of like GLaDOS. They wanted and I did the Team Fortress recordings first. Team Fortress 2 was the first time I had worked for Valve.
Wow.
They wanted me to, spur the player on by telling them how horrible they were.
Mm-hmm.
You failed. Overtime.
Very nice.
And I can't remember who decided that she should be British. So it was decided that the administrator should be British.
Right.
And I can't remember if I came up with that or if they did. But it wasn't until later years, because of course, I've made recordings for Team Fortress 2, through the years, updating the game and adding whatever you add. But, it was a fan of the game who came up with the artwork of the character. Yeah. And of course, I like to call the character the skinny old bitch. Skinny old bitch.
Cigarette in hand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Chain smoker.
Yeah.
With, silver streaker.
Oh yeah.
And oh, I have the cutest little tiny administrator that someone made for me years ago.
That's cute.
She's about that big, and she's got a streak in her hair, and
She's iconic. She's iconic.
Oh my God.
We love her.
Yeah.
In the Team Fortress 2 community.
Well, it's
Yeah.
once the artwork was created, Valve bought the artwork from the artist. Can't remember the artist's name, but Valve owns that now. And once they showed it to me, it was like, oh yes, and that fed my character. After the fact, for the subsequent recordings that I made.
Yeah, that band's artwork helped with it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you remember when you did the last recording session for the administrator?
Well, I didn't. Nothing. I don't remember. I don't. Certainly not this year.
Definitely not. Yeah, we're actually not expecting
2020.
much. We're not expecting much out of any new administrator lines, perhaps. But I think we could go into the miscellaneous here. Out of all of your work, which one was the most fun to be a part of?
Well, they're all fun.
They're all fun.
But
is there any particular one that you loved?
Well, the thing is, I've had the most longevity with GLaDOS. And then the nice thing is that Guillermo del Toro and his children are Portal fans. So when Guillermo del Toro was putting together Pacific Rim,
right,
he called up Gabe Newell and said, oh, can we use the GLaDOS voice for the movie Pacific Rim? And Gabe said, well, that's Ellen McLain.
Yeah.
You have to hire Ellen McLain.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my opinion, Guillermo del Toro is a genius. So when that was presented to me, it was like, hell yes.
When I was in the movie theater, I was watching, the trailers they play before the movie. I remember I was like a kid. I was like in middle school at some point. And I remember my brother and I seeing the Pacific Rim trailer. We didn't know what it was. And it played and we heard your voice and we freaked out. We freaked out. My brother and I freaked out hearing that when we didn't know what we just went insane when we heard that.
Well, I think that was the intention, but in the movie, Valve did tell Del Toro that he could have the exact what is it? What's E equals MC squared? That's what is that called? Oh, you guys, I'm so old.
Trying to think.
No, it's a math term. What is E equals MC squared? It's it's a math term.
I'm not good at math. I don't think
I did horribly in math. But anyway, they told Del Toro the exact way to process my voice.
Right.
To have it end up as, sounding like GLaDOS. Because of course, when I'm in the studio and you're recording me, it's just my voice. It hasn't been processed yet.
Right.
But Del Toro, for the film, actually decided to process my voice differently. So in my opinion, the voice in the movie doesn't sound exactly like GLaDOS. It actually sounds a little bit more human,
right,
than GLaDOS does. And that was an artistic decision that he made.
It still sounded very
fine
good,
by me, but the sound. But what I recorded in the studio for Pacific Rim and Pacific Rim 2 was just my GLaDOS read. I totally just did GLaDOS, and how they chose to process it was their decision.
You did very well. You did very well. We couldn't sleep that night after that because we were so watching that. perhaps, I guess, considering time, we could probably ask one more question here.
Okay.
How many takes you may need actually for a recording line to be like 100% like good, so you can move up to the next line?
That's a very good question. So usually what they do, in the early years, I would always have a piece of paper, a copy piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's always, on a screen, on a readout screen. And the typical process is, they'll have like 10 lines up, and I will do 3 passes, and this will be a cold reading, as they say in English. I will not have seen any of these lines before.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll read it the first time so I can figure out what it is. I read it the second time with a little bit more meaning, and then I'll read it a third time. And I'll go down the whole page like that, say through 10 lines, with 3 reads each on each line. Then what the client does, the listener in the studio, they'll decide if I need to do any of the lines again. And sometimes I don't. But sometimes they'll say, Ellen, go back to line 4 and, give us more of this intent or this idea or stress this word. So then I'll go back and, maybe give them 3 more reads on that particular line. Because in this process, we've found that that's a way to produce things quickly. It's like, I just read, 3, 3, 3, 3. And then, perhaps when we finish the session, say it's an hour session or a 4-hour session, sometimes I'll go back to the beginning again and do some of those initial lines again, because you sort of fall into the character. It's kind of like, oh, I'm really feeling who this character is now. Let's do some of those initial lines again, because I really feel like I know who I am. Or the client, feels like, I've sort of dug in.
Yeah. Well, I really would like to appreciate that you have joined us today. It's been a big pleasure. I think I can talk to in the name of Sam too.
Well, it's been my
it's a big pleasure. Yeah.
And
wonderful.
Ronald and Sam, I wish you good fortune. And here's my motto: say yes to life. And if something occurs to you, do it. Do it. And, don't think you can't, because you can do anything, and just try it. And, St. Francis said, I'm paraphrasing St. Francis of Assisi, if you do the possible, the impossible becomes doable. So start with doing the possible and see where it leads. Because I never thought that in my 60s, I would be asked to do an interview with 2 nice young men, one in Slovakia, one in Savannah. And so I'm amazed to be here.
Well, thank you. That
Well, it's
really
been a big pleasure.
mean a lot. So thank you very much for taking the time with us.
Thank you, everyone, for watching the VŌC Podcast. Thank you to Ellen for being a part of the VŌC Podcast. This will actually be the first episode to kick off the VŌC Podcast series here. This is just intended to be a generalized topic channel podcast thing where we just talk about whatever it is we want to talk about in the moment. But thank you again to Ellen for joining us, Ellen McLain, voiceover legend. And we'll see you in the next one.
Contract completed. Now, you may subscribe and like the video, you poor fool. Overtime!